Here at mile 169.5 on the northeast side of Apache Peak, and this is the first snow that we've encountered to this point, so we're going around following the PCT, and I know a fair number of folks have been going up and over this season over the saddle around the peak, but that's certainly not necessary at this time, and relatively little snow remaining. As you can see, Annabelle in particular is making very light work of it. And that's all there is. And I'm not expecting much snow for another couple of miles. I'm at mile about 171 and starting to think that maybe I left it a week too late to do this video. Just a few very minor patches of snow to this point. Ansel Rock is here. PCT comes around the bottom of that and along the ridge here below the ridge line, and I'm expecting to finally run into some significant snow around here where the PCT turns around to the west and goes around Red Tuckwitz. Getting close to mile 172, and we've got a moderate rockfall here that's managed to incorporate a big old burnt tree trunk. It's going to take a bit of work to deal with that one. For those who are interested in the recent history of the PCT through this section, this is mile 172.5, where the infamous rockfall was located between 2019 and 2021. Pretty disruptive for those three PCT seasons, northbound seasons. But it's a narrow track, but this was the area of the main rockfall. Sadly, a major problem with particularly 172 through to about 175 is all of these tree fall hazards. I'm here at about getting close to 173, and I'm already at about 26 hazards, and I know there's another 70 or 80 ahead of me. Here at about mile 173, an example of one of the tiny patches that remain. Unfortunately, this one also combined with another tree fall hazard. I think I'm on, it's about number 51 at this point. Some of those have fairly irritating alternates, and this is typical of the handful of small snow patches that remain between about 169 and 175. Okay, coming around the east side of Red Tuckwitz, about mile 175. So to this point I've counted, I think, 93 tree fall hazards since mile 169, and the vast majority of those have been there for years. The agencies, Forest Service and PCTA, are well aware of them. Frankly, they've been pretty dysfunctional for the last few years. A handful were cut in June 2021 in preparation for the removal of the rock slide, but obviously every winter we've had a few more down, including this winter. So none of them are too taxing, but there are a lot that are pretty big, and obviously it means that you have to factor that into your hiking pace. And this is about where we should start to encounter more continuous snow. Essentially no snow to speak of between anywhere since 151 up as far as 175. Just the handful of patches that I've shown. As expected, here at about 175, as the PCT turns from going generally northwards, it turns to go west as it comes around Red Tuckwitz, and snow consequently gets more continuous. But as you can see, there's a pretty well worn track with good steps, and Annabelle at least is making light work of it. So we're around to the north side of Red Tuckwitz, there to my left, and you can see this forest burned in the July 2013 mountain fire, which is a major explanation for all the blowdowns. And this is the point at which snow will be basically continuous. A few small patches starting to clear, but from here should be pretty much continuous through to 179. It's clear that the well-established track is not actually on the PCT in places, but I'd still recommend, until a lot more of it melts off, that folks just stick to the track. And a couple of slopes that are have a little more exposure. Most hikers will probably prefer to be in spikes, but that's really all that's required at this point, if that. I've passed about close to 25 to 30 PCTers going northbound on this section this morning. In addition to that, I've had close to 8 to 10 PCT hikers coming southbound. Chatted to a couple of them. They're all folks who tried coming through in March, sort of mid to late March, and skipped this section, have flip-flopped, done sections further north, and now are coming back southbound through the San Jacinto section, given that conditions are certainly better than they were in March. So that really explains why the track's so well worn at this point. We've sort of got not quite double volume, but we've got folks who have April dates coming northbound, and then folks who had March dates coming southbound. So pretty good traffic. And the snowy sections here, I'm getting close to 177, are pretty well consolidated at this point. So here at about mile 177, there's a little junction there I'll come back to. This is the crossing of Tuckwitz Creek, which traditionally is a major water fill-up area, but as you can see, still firmly embedded in snow. Still a good probably 2 or 3 feet, so that might be another 2 or 3 weeks before that's accessible. Split in the trail here, or in the track, marked conveniently by that stick. So up is the PCT proper, and then down is the trail through the meadows. Both of them end up at Saddle Junction, roughly 179. But the PCT proper goes up there to about 177.8 at Chinkapin Flat. One quick comment regarding that: PCTers should not take, as tempting as it looks on the apps, they should not take the South Ridge Trail down into Idlewild. There's a really treacherous section for the first half mile after you leave Chinkapin Flat. that requires crampons, ice axe and mountaineering experience that I check on every week, and it's definitely not passable at this time without that gear and that experience level. And getting close to Saddle Junction at mile 179, coming in from the north from Chinkapin Flat. As you can see, between 178 and 179 there are just a handful of these little spots that are starting to clear now. A few bare patches, otherwise the track's still fairly straightforward to follow. And here we are, getting to Saddle Junction, approximately mile 179. That's what I call it, plus or minus 1 or 2 tenths. And as you can see, some bare patches starting to open up. It's basically a bit of a mess of bare patches and quite deep drift. This sign, which now I can barely reach, was about my hip height just a month ago. And PCT North continues there, and obviously the trail to Idlewild, Humber Park that way. So, quick synopsis of what we've seen today. Functionally, PCT Miles 168.5, top of Spitler, through to 175 Red Tuckwits, clear of snow, a handful of negligible patches, snow, quite a lot of blowdowns on that section, close to 100. Once the snow's cleared, it'll probably be just over 100. Between 175 and Saddle Junction 179, more or less continuous snow, sort of 98% cover right now. Probably not expecting a huge amount of melting over the next week. It's going to be pretty cool again, but then it'll accelerate in the 2nd and 3rd weeks of May. Spikes are going to be useful for most people, probably not essential, but definitely recommended. And most folks seem to be carrying an ice axe. That's probably not needed for that section at this time, but if you carry on north to the peak and through to Fuller Ridge, most folks will be comfortable carrying one. And then finally, a huge thank you to those who've contributed to the trail report. It's this YouTube channel is not monetized because it's seasonal, sort of aimed at northbound PCT season. So your support's really appreciated. There's a link in the notes and also at the bottom of this video right now to the donate page on the trail report. As always, there's more information on the current conditions of the trails at sandjackjohn.com, Sanderson Trail Report. And safe hiking, everyone.